Nishita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we start here. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to 149th episode of Creative Online Weekend Talk. We gathered here to inspire creativity for fostering innovation. This weekend, we have an excited lineup of speaker, Dr. Chintamani Paisar, and Creative is a group of people who are eager to gain new knowledge, and Knowledge Square is our tagline: sharing of knowledge increases our knowledge or doubles our knowledge. This weekend, we will have an opportunity to engage and participate in interactive session of drone technology. And yeah, vision of Creative is to build a constructive thinking on various domains. So we live stream our program on YouTube channel Creative GBD. And today's topic is on emergence of drone technology and opportunities. This promises to be both fascinating and informative session. We will explore the latest advancement in drone technology, its application across different industries, and exciting opportunities it presents for the future. For this session, I welcome all the participants and the speaker for this session, and I call Nishita to introduce today's speaker. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nishita, volunteer of Creative Team. Thank you, ma'am, for giving this opportunity. Let me welcome today's honorable guest, Dr. Chintamani Pai, who is researcher working in photonics and magnetism with special interest in aerospace technology. Currently, he is adjunct faculty at Department of Aeronautical Engineering in Kumaraguru College of Technology, Coimbatore. In 2021, he was selected for NASA InSighterNess program to experience the work of interplanetary space mission. And in 2022, he won the special award in MarkFest Vadodara held in MSU. He won the Best Posture Award in DAE SSP 2018 conference in terahertz and magnetic nanofluids carried out in collaboration with Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. Currently, he has been working in sensor technology in aerospace domain, especially for drones and satellite sensing system. He is looking forward for establishing skilled manpower's development and providing early exposures to students in aerospace and aligned sectors. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Nishita. Over to you, sir. You can start the session.
I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir, but a little low.
Yeah. Am I audible now? So I'll hold my
Louder,
mic.
sir.
Yeah. Am I audible
Yes,
now?
yes, sir, better.
Okay. So thanks to everyone, and special thanks to Creative and Goa University. I think with all the interaction, this talk was made possible. So I thank all the organizers involved, and it's a great pleasure to be here. Even I have my native is Goa, so it feels great to be connected via online platform, and maybe in future we would like to have more interaction. And the topic I chose for today, emergence of drone technology and opportunities, from the point of view that what opportunities are lying right from school age to the postgraduate level. And I think for all of us, it is important to know what potential drone technology has. And from that perspective, I'll try to touch upon the topics right from the basics to even if we have time going into details of applications in agricultural domains. Okay, so let me go next. Yeah, so I always start with this slide from which is a quote from our honorable President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who told that all birds find shelter during the rain, but an eagle avoids rain by flying above the clouds. Problems are common, but attitude makes the difference. You were born with wings, so do not crawl. Learn to use them to fly and fly. And it is education gives you wings to fly. So I think we all have to take inspiration from this quote. Whatever field you are working in, and whatever maybe you are part of a startup, or you are doing your PhD or research, there are always uh, there are situations where you feel okay, nothing can move ahead. But I think you have to have that bird's eye view. You should know which will give you idea where to go from there and how to actually overcome these obstacles. So going next, coming to the drone technology, even before starting with drone technology, I think all of us are fans of uh, superheroes, and most most of all superheroes, they have capability. I think they have been depicted in such a way that they have ability to fly. Okay, so it is always rooted in human imagination that okay, someday humans will able to fly, right? Okay, okay, next slide. Yeah. So if human had wings, okay, what would the wingspan be? Because when we actually look at a bird, okay, the body posture of the bird while it is flying, you know, typically the wingspan, what is a ratio with respect to the body size. So if at all, so people had thought about all these aspects, and there were early attempts of actually human flying, okay, with the mechanical structures, which I'll touch upon those aspects. And so based on actually just pure observation of different kinds of birds, so you see around sparrow, crow, eagle, different kinds of birds, and their body size and wingspans, there are different dimensions, right? And depending upon the ratios give them different capabilities to fly at different altitudes, because crow can go to certain altitude, he cannot go beyond certain altitude, right? And eagle can go to the farthest altitude, and so on. So uh, so if all of you must have heard of this great legend Leonardo da Vinci, and uh, he actually, there have been drawings available where he thought of, if at all, if the human should fly, what kind of mechanical structures are to be designed. And he could with his imagination, he could think of such structures. One of these is actually the rotary wing helicopter, which also he could think of during that time. And we see nowadays that all these are actually part of our reality, right? We do have gliders, we do have helicopters. So human imagination always is ahead, far ahead than the reality, and it is that imagination which inspires us to bring these concepts in reality. So there is no limit to imagination. So even if you're not in a lab, or maybe you're not having access to technology, there is no limit to your imagination. And I think that is very much important, that it is needed to actually imagine and then to materialize your thoughts, how to go about execution. So these are early attempts, and uh, where people could build the mechanical structures, and uh, jumped from uh, they jumped from high altitude, and there were actually deaths also. So my point here is, whenever you are researching on certain topic, you are experimenting, it is always needed that first you should work out a worst case scenario. What are the hazards that you should highlight, and accordingly you have to plan your research or any experimental activity. Especially for school students, it is very important when they experiment in certain, carry out experiments in certain projects. So it is really important with their school teacher that they should highlight what are, they should carry out the worst case scenario. Okay, if this experiment doesn't work properly, okay, what are the worst aspects to deal with. Okay, and then the next slide. Here, as you can see an aircraft, you can also see a drone with actually it is carrying out a box where there is something to be transported from one point to another point. So then people also started thinking about why I need to if I have to deliver a packet, why I need to actually go from one point to another point using aircraft, because there is the cost aspect. So then the Amazon in 2013 came up with a concept that a nationwide network of such logistic drones if the goods can be transported from one point to another point. But then in the year 2013, uh, the whole regulatory aspects of setting up such large area drone network were not available. And as you must have seen that on roads when the cars are traveling, we have very good signaling, right? The signaling aspect, that which has to be also set up in air, because the drones just cannot simply travel haywire, because there is possibility for collision. They may get stuck in power cables or any other cables which are in going in air, right? As the power cables are connected from one tower to another tower. And maybe I don't know how many of you have come to Mumbai. Mumbai is so there are areas where things are so, there are congested power cables, there are signal cables, and so on. Where if a packet has to be delivered, I think one has to more care about the hazard that the drone will get stuck and then it will fall upon someone. So considering these aspects, there has to be a mechanism for specific airways for drones, which are still not set up in any country. People are working on that, because at a time, if you have to set up such nationwide network, one has to actually work upon designing these aerial pathways, their autonomous control, and there is no radio interference while so many drones are being controlled autonomously. So since then there has been progress in drone technology, and now we are in such an era that these things may take off in maybe 3 to 5 years. And India has already anticipated the growth in drone technology, and India has come up with a whole dream of becoming drone hub by 2030, because drone industry has a potential to become the 23 billion US dollar industry. And we have, as India, with all the potential in youngsters, students, and professionals, we have a great talent to become a part of this drone technology so that we become a drone hub. So there was this notification issued by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, which says that India will become a hub of drone technology, and India requires, as of now, around at least 1 lakh drone pilots. Okay, now this came somewhere in 2023, and still I'm sure that this need is not satisfied. And it talks about the what drone technology could actually add to the agricultural sector as well. And as of now, what I'm aware of, the India has around 10 to 15,000 drone pilots only. The number has not gone beyond. So there is a real need, and the whole aspect is anyone who is 10th standard and 18 years of age can become a drone pilot. The conditions are kept very nominal, because the kind of opportunity drone technology has to offer at village level. So these are the domains where drone technology can play a huge role. Indian economy is, the backbone is agricultural sector. So there is lots of scope for in the agricultural sector. In drone technology has to play a role where it can be crop maintenance, crop supervision, the to find out if there is a loss because of the floods or any extreme weather conditions. If there is a loss uh, we face, how to estimate it using drone technology. In fact, there has been some models being studied where the banks which issue loans to farmers, and if farmers claim that they are facing a loss, then how to actually estimate the loss by having the carrying out the mapping using drones and to estimate the loss. And lot of studies are needed by actually carrying out the flora and fauna study, the vegetation statistics using drones. So there is lot of scope. Another drone applications you must have come across. Can anyone tell me what are the applications you must have come across using drones for agriculture? Can anyone tell me?
Sir, actually muted.
Okay. Anyway, so one is for pesticide spraying, because right now the traditional practice is by manual spraying. And but if you are having a huge farm, and then in that case, uh, the right now the most of the immediate application using drone technology is by having pesticides, which is drone based pesticide spraying, and which can cover a huge farm in like just 10 to 15 minutes. The other domains, not that drones were only available now, the drones have been heavily used by the media and entertainment purpose. You must have seen lots of Hollywood movies, Bollywood movies, and the advertisements in which there are aerial shots. Typically, earlier these aerial shots were carried out by helicopter based systems. Now helicopter, if you're coming to Mumbai and you want to have a air view of Mumbai, aerial view of Mumbai, it cost around 15 to 30,000 for just 30 minutes. Imagine that you are utilizing such helicopters for aerial shots for a movie, or for an advertisement. You are taking them for rent for maybe one or minimum 1 day. In that, the cost wise it becomes, I mean, if there is a budget, there is a limit to the budget, it becomes, they are not so affordable. So there drones have played a significant role, where drone based aerial shots are easier to obtain if with the help of drone pilot, and the budgets are very less. So the media and entertainment industry has been utilizing drone technology to the extent possible, with the post processing, and taking different kinds of shots with different kinds of drones being used. This can be fixed wing drones or quadcopters and so on. The other areas which are emerging with respect to drone technology in India, that is energy and utility, where you want to carry out the survey, you want to carry out survey of the power lines, the towers carrying high voltage cables, and even the underwater pipe inspection using unmanned water vehicles, and so on. Infrastructure is one of the area where drones have lots of applications, where you can carry out the land audit. In fact, there have been the pilot projects where using lidar sensors, the city is being mapped, so that you are actually having a digital twin of the city, which allows you to carry out the smart city planning, to create services and products based on the digital twin of the city. And where drones have played a great role, and these models will be further expanding as we drone technology evolves in India and abroad. The insurance is one of the areas. As I told, if drone falls on someone, there have been scenarios where drones are hacked by unknown third parties, and if that uh, results in a damage, how you go about actually insurance? If you are a drone pilot, you have your drone, and if any of such hazard occurs, there has to be a provision for insuring your drone. So there are even insurance companies now, they have started offering insurance policies for drones. The mining has been one dominant area where the drone technology has a great potential, because you can carry out lots of multi-sensor analysis for mining areas using thermal imaging, maybe hyperspectral imaging, and terrain mapping. where even I'm aware in Karnataka government they are providing drone based services where using drone based aerial imaging you can actually carry out the analysis how much area has been actually utilized in mining for mining operations, and accordingly the charges are to be set up by carrying out the video analysis. Okay, going next. This is the whole projection of how the drone technology is going to grow by 2030. As you can see, most of the domain is occupied by defense, but it is not the only area. There are other areas, mainly commercial areas, in which you can see that there are railways, ports, real estate, roads, pipelines, telecom, power, apart from retail and agricultural domains. So there is a huge potential for school students, students who are pursuing their undergraduate, postgraduate studies, and professionals to grow in drone technology. In fact, the drone technology has been also taken very seriously by ISRO. And as we know that the space sector itself is opening up in India, the drone technology, there are projects being offered by ISRO in various domains like geosciences and uh, botany and forestry, and even in the mining sector there have been projects, this is projects. So even faculties can who are interested to combine their expertise uh, in drone technology, they can look at these aspects. As of now, when we are looking at the uh, possible applications of drone technology, India is right now going till this point. Okay, the commercial flights, then the license to fly, then the training, capacity building, and even the insurance. But then there are zones where your drones can go beyond visual line of sight, where India is currently not focusing on this area much, and the license aspect of the beyond visual line of sight flights, whereas you can see the scenario with respect to other countries. Coming to the flight and drones, as a researcher in space domain, I always give example of this drone. Have you heard of this drone, which is actually was the first powered helicopter flight on Mars? You can see that very first flight, it went for around 40 seconds, it went around 3 meters, and this was whole technology demonstration on the Martian surface. This is as good as the first flight by Wright brothers in 1903. Why this is very important? Because it has demonstrated the technology for the drone flight in beyond Earth. And when I say beyond Earth, in space, the space is always comes up with the harsh conditions. There are harsh temperature conditions, there are harsh other physical conditions. If you go on Mars, the uh, martian surface uh, Martian surface is already very much dynamic with the atmosphere. With the dynamic atmosphere, there are always unpredictable storms, dust storms on Mars. So, considering all these aspects, if this drone has to take off on Mars, it has to, the technology was so much, it had reached to certain level that it could withstand the harsh conditions of space. And when such technology you have achieved, it becomes very easy to come up with technologies which you can actually come up with products and services on Earth. So whatever works in space, okay, it has a potential to come up as a technology or a spin-off uh, to evolve on Earth. So most of the technologies what we see around us, they have actually come up from the space sector. So I'll not go much in details of this slide, where you can actually see how these drones, how this drone has actually covered the path on the Martian surface. So maybe in future, as you know, Elon Musk is thinking about the human settlement on Mars. So we are actually in future, maybe you can have such drone based vehicles where humans can go from one point to another point, or maybe these drones can actually carry out operations to actually study the Martian surface with sensors and devices. Going to the history of drones, maybe you must be thinking that okay, drones have evolved now, maybe in past 10 years, but it is not so. The drones come under a generic category called as unmanned aerial vehicles, and these aerial vehicles have been always explored by us long back. So very first case of unmanned aerial vehicle in the form of explosive balloon was used by Austrians in 1849. Unfortunately, people only think about technology when only the war scenario comes, where human imagination is actually pushed to the limits, and that is when we have seen in the history that whenever war scenarios have come, the technologies have been pushed to the limit, and then first come the technologies are they first come in the war domain, military domain, and then we think about their typical civilian applications later. That is the scenario. So this is where actually the concept of unmanned aerial vehicles start evolved in 1849, and then in 1903 the Wright brothers had their first flight, and then it started evolving, and even World War II people thought of unmanned aerial vehicles for the military applications, where we don't want to actually uh, utilize a pilot. You know, if pilot we lose a pilot, it is much more loss than losing a machine. So people thought about such unmanned aerial vehicles from World War II onwards. So I'll show actually few slides. And then, of course, in 2010 onwards, drones started being used for filming and videography. And then the civilian applications started emerging. So it's very important as researchers how we can actually come up with more civilian applications, because they are having immediate impact on society and societal benefits. So these are some of the pictures from World War II, where you can see the drones, the unmanned aerial vehicles being built, and you will see how these vehicles are being maintained by the Royal Air Force. Okay, and this is the recent scenario where you can actually see these are the frets. These are not the frets for the good transport, but inside that you're actually having a mobile unit where you can see the Royal Air Force pilots are actually controlling these huge drones being used for military and defense applications. So wherever there is a need, the whole unit can be mobilized. This is one of the interesting articles. If you read, it talks about the mass market military drones, which have changed the way the wars are being fought. And some of you are interested in international relations and following geopolitics. So the whole current Ukraine-Russia conflict is being completely twisted by drone technology. This is one of the uh, uh, maps where you can see the all the red dots were actually represent where these red dots, the drones have been used for the attack. You can see the whole damage being done by drone technology where drones are being used. Uh, so the whole point is that not for the military applications that drones should be used always, but how actually to utilize these drones for civilian applications like agriculture. Okay, but the reality is also that such drones are being utilized for the military applications, and you can see that drones, different kinds of drones with the cost, right, starting from $1,000 being utilized for such drone technology for geopolitical purpose. Okay, you can see the recent the Israel Gaza war where the drones were utilized. These are the drones being used for surveillance and monitoring. So far I have been talking about international scenario and geopolitics. Not that we are behind. The DRDO has been very much investing and having interest since 1990s to develop such drones. These are known as Rustam and Tapas drones, being developed by DRDO completely indigenously for surveillance and monitoring. And it was then the R stand becomes important, where when Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, father of Indian space program, he said that we must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problems of man and society. I think this is very great statement for all the researchers, that we shouldn't focus, not that we shouldn't focus on the military applications of drones, but what is immediate need, what are the immediate problems of man and society. Okay, which I think all of us as researcher has a responsibility to come up with such societal applications of technology. In fact, there was very big event which was organized in Uttar Pradesh last year at the Air Force Station Hindon, which showcased the drone technology status of drone technology in India, and uh, not only just military drones, but the survey drones, agricultural drones, fire suppression drones, and logistic drones were actually showcased during this event. So from students perspective, if you're looking at, there are so many domains through which you can contribute to drone technology. All of you who are present here, you're maybe from some of these backgrounds, and I must say that all these backgrounds, you might be thinking that I have to be an engineer or I need to be a researcher working in drone technology, but that is not so. You can be from e-commerce background, you can be from economics background, you can be from disaster management background or data science background. Okay, through all these domains you can actually contribute towards drone technology, or you can think of how drone technology can be useful in your domain. If you're from economics background, you can think of a business model, uh, because that is needed, that if I have drones, how I can develop a successful business model to offer drone technology to clients, that is needed in India. If you are a zoologist, how you can utilize drones to maybe for the forestry or maybe the animal movement, that is needed. Even researchers can utilize drones in their drone technology. So I'm just giving a brief background of how the state-wise developments have been in drone technology. As you know, the Karnataka state has been always at the forefront of the aviation sector, so they have been playing a great role even in the development of the drone industry, and there are lots of startups, initiatives in the in the Karnataka state. Then there was actually a drone police unit which was actually formed in Chennai. Then in the state of Kerala, they actually came up with the forensic unit of drones, where you can actually see for collecting samples or maybe even carrying out a recce of where for crime scene investigation. The drones can play a great role, can play a great role where they can be utilized to collect samples, or maybe actually carrying out the recording of the crime scene, and that is helpful for the crime scene investigators. uh, During the COVID times, there have been initiatives in India, especially in Northeast, where these fixed RC wing drones were utilized for supplying medicines, and with the large area network, these drones were actually sent from one location to another location. And even in Dehradun, Tata came up with a service, fixed wing drone based service, where they could actually supply medicines. Okay, And as I spoke about the drones in agriculture, there are different applications which also I'll try to cover based on the time we have. I think we have 1 hour, right? So I'll try to cover the slides. And there are different schemes uh, launched by the government of India. And one is a Kisan drones, where if you are having the official farmer certificate, you can buy drone at 50% subsidy. Okay. And it all started with a liberalized drone policy which came into existence in the year 2021, and subsequently there were different initiatives and different policies with respect to different domains were launched. So, coming to the overall application of drones, you can have hobby drones which are being used for fun, recreation, photography, racing. There have been racing events also. So, if there are engineering students or school students present here, they can actually participate in such racing events. The commercial aspects I have already covered, military aspects also I have already covered. So, I'll go to the next slide. Uh, the applications of drones. Okay, even these we have covered somewhat. Coming to the agriculture in detail, I have slides on agricultural applications also at depth, but depending upon time we'll decide if those are to be covered. So from the agriculture perspective, you can utilize drones for the crop health analysis, understanding the nutrition or water levels, detection of pests and diseases by making use of hyperspectral sensors. And generally, most of the time, people are utilizing drones for spraying fertilizers and pesticides. That has been the frequent use for drones in India, and very less utilization is being done for soil analysis. But these are also the applications one can have using drones. India has a largest network of in the world. India has the largest network, railway network, and Indian Railway is thinking of utilizing drones for monitoring, surveillance, and there have been sometimes uh, terror activities also. So to stop these activities, also drones can be utilized apart from the track inspection. India also has the pipelines for water, gas, uh, and oil. And these pipelines also regular inspection can be carried out using drones. In fact, the other emerging areas where drone technology, drone-based services are coming up, lots of company startups are coming up in this area. One is a wind turbine inspection, where you have to on regular basis you have to inspect wind turbines if there is a damage, and accordingly the report has to be created. A power line inspection and rooftop inspection for solar farms, where drone technology is playing very significant role. So coming to the aspects of drones, I'll quickly cover uh, what do we mean by drone, how do they fly, components of drones. uh, so drone is a basic aspect we come up. Generally, we see is a multi-rotor drone where you are having these propellers. Uh, there are generally the propellers vary. Minimum these are like four, and then they start increasing in numbers. So these multi-rotor drones, they are capable of vertical takeoff and landing. They fly slowly and hover. Okay, because sometimes by hovering at certain distance you can carry out measurements, where otherwise when you are moving you cannot carry out these measurements. So depending upon the propellers, okay, they are called as quadcopters, hexacopters, or octocopters. And why we increase the number of propellers? Because suppose if it has to lift heavy object, then it has to counter the gravity, and more gravity you have to counter, you need to have more thrust. Okay, and so to do so there is no option than increasing the number of propellers. and even maybe the size of the propellers, because that much thrust has to be created to counter the gravitational force. Then you come up with other kind of drones which are called as fixed wing drones, where there are no more uh, so many propellers. You can see the flying bird like structure. You are having a wingspan, and then at the front or back you are having a propeller. These kind of drones cannot fly slowly or hover. They require a small airstrip to take off and for landing, and wherever there is no such strip is ready, you need to actually launch them from a launch pad. So you must have seen in the past slides where typically for military applications they are actually kept in shells, and then they are actually launched from the shell where there is no need for airstrip. Then you come up with the hybrid drones, where hybrid drones are utilizing the both properties what we have seen earlier, the multi-rotor aspect and the fixed wing aspect. So typically military drones are made in such a format because depending upon the conditions, or if the drone is damaged, you can suppose the airstrip is damaged, you can uh, switch into the multi-copter mode where you can have vertical takeoff or landing, or where you have to go at very high altitude carrying out the surveillance or monitoring, you can switch to a fixed wing drone. Or if there are disturbances in weather, you can choose your mode depending upon your convenience. They are complex to build and expensive, so not many drone companies are actually will offer hybrid drone based services and products. Mainly for military applications you will come across such drones. So what kind of sizes we have these drones? So you will see you can have a micro aerial vehicle which can stand on the tip of the finger. So you must be thinking, okay, what can be such application? It's not just for spying. Suppose you are a zoologist, or you are studying the animal or bird behavior. You want to study birds, you don't want to send a huge drone like this because the behavior will be altered. So you will send this kind of a drone where the birds will not get agitated, and you can actually study the bird behavior or animal behavior using these kind of drones. And then you will see the how the size actually increases. Okay, and what you see at the bottom, right bottom, is a fighter plane without pilot, which is being tested last year by the US Air Force. And there have been subsequent other tests. And now you can imagine if the AI is integrated into such aircraft, how what kind of capabilities it will have in geopolitical scenario. So technology is growing at a very large rate, and it is needed that students present here or professionals present here, how they can uh, apply their expertise or grow with drone technology. Coming to the basic physics aspects of drones, I hope I have time. We have time, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we deal with four forces. It's just the interplay of four forces, because whenever there is a mass come into the picture, we will always have the gravitational force, and gravitational force is always towards the center of the Earth. That is why whenever we study motion on Earth or around Earth, the gravitational force will be always downwards. And to counter the gravitational force, we require the lift, which is being generated by the propellers, or in case of fixed wing aircrafts, how the airflow is being split. And then to move back and forth, you require thrust. And when these objects are moving in air, you will always have a drag force because of the presence of medium. Even for the unmanned underwater vehicle, you will have these kind of drag forces because of the presence of water. And then when you have a drone, okay, you are not just moving in along one direction, but there are like three directions, x, y and z axis. And for the efficient flight, you have to also work upon the rotation of drones along these axes. So typically, you are having a translational motion along x, y, and z axis, followed by the rotation along each axis. And combination of these moments will result into an efficient drone trajectory. Okay. So for example, if the drone has to move forward, okay, it has to have unbalanced force in this direction, because then it has to tilt, because otherwise there is no balanced if at all there is no unbalanced component without which the drone cannot move forward. So to generate a thrust, there has to be the unbalanced force generated. So accordingly, one has to deal with the rotary aspects of the propellers. Okay, so coming to the components of drones, I'm sure most of you are aware of the drone components. So you have a frame, then you have a motor. This is a brushless DC motor to which the propellers are attached, and the rotational speed of these propellers is controlled by a separate speed controllers. If there are nano drones, the speed controllers are actually on board. Okay, so through which the rotation of these propellers is maintained. Okay, then you have like a flight controller, because that is like a CPU, because it distributes power, it distributes the signals to the propellers, and you can actually put your own code for the flight trajectories. And this is being you also have the radio control mechanism. So you have a radio receiver at the drone end. You are if you are manually controlling or autonomously controlling, you require a transmitter and the drone battery, because everything requires a power. So depending upon what kind of equipment you have on the drone, you will have the usage of battery. The other components you can have is like a telemetry module. You can have such a small camera which you can fit to your drone, which will transmit real time uh, real time. It will transmit the video through video transmitter. You can have a first person viewer, such a video receiver, and so on. Okay, I will not. I'll skip this. Okay, in case of the quadcopter or multicopter drones, okay, you are actually creating such low pressure and high pressure zone through which there is a lift which counters the gravity. That is the basic principle behind the multicopter drones. So by having multiple propellers, you are creating a thrust which will counter against the gravitational force. Yeah, so depending upon, by choosing how these propellers move in certain directions, you can actually have different kinds of motions, like throttle going up or down. You are having a pitch movement moving forward or moving backward, and the roll movement bending left or bending right, or rotating leftward or rightward. Okay, I think yeah, this I will try to skip because it's not a very technical talk I want to give. From students who are interested here, they can always build in-house laboratory for drones. Okay, so generally when we deal with the drone aerodynamics, okay, we there are the computational aspects where you can simulate drones, you can simulate the airflow around drones, you can simulate the thermal or mechanical stresses being generated in drones, so you know how your frame is airworthy. You can carry out the experimental aspects of drones. I am from the experimental background, so mostly I love carrying out experiments more. There are lots of techniques being utilized in drone technology, or in aeronautical engineering, as say in generically, where you can actually imagine the airflow around an object by having laser based systems. You can carry out experiments inside wind tunnel to actually experimentally measure pressure, temperature, and to study the flow around drones. One can actually have one can actually set up such system integrated with a computer, where you can design your own propeller and what kind of thrust it is generating. Okay, I will skip this part. If you are interested in simulation, okay, you can actually design a propeller. You can work, you can simulate how this propeller rotate, what kind of airflows are being generated. Okay, these are like commercial systems one can have. These are called as load cells. And you can have different, you can test different kinds of motors, different kinds of propellers at different rpms to study the airflow and the thrust they generate. Okay, so if you go online, you can actually buy these low cost pulse width modulated speed controllers. You can connect them to a drone motor, you can vary the speed, and you can actually study the motion of propellers. Okay, I think I'll skip these slides. So this is the whole experimental assembly inside a wind tunnel. You can have a laser based system called as PIV laser system. Then you can actually mount your drone assembly. It can be mounted vertically, or maybe vertically downwards, vertically upwards. And you can have the stereo camera system, laser tachometers to carry out the wind profile and other airflow measurements. You can have different kinds of mountings. You can have vertically mounted at different angles, alpha 0 degrees or minus 40 degrees, and so on, depending upon what kind of conditions you want to actually simulate, because the drone can be tilted also. So when it is in tilted condition, your propellers are going to be tilted. So accordingly, the propellers, as they are rotating at certain rpms, can be mounted inside a wind tunnel, and then the flow characteristics can be studied. So you can actually study them, uh, through computer simulations, and then the results can be matched with the wind tunnel studies. There are such systems in which you can carry out the real-time motion of drones. Okay, you can actually deploy such nodes which are which are actually attached to the drone frame, and which actually these are called as motion capture cameras. And these cameras are uh, capable of capturing a millimeter scale motion of drones. So if you are designing your own drone frame, you want to carry out the stability analysis, one can set up these kind of systems where you can actually analyze your drone frames. So you can set up such a volume with all these motion capture cameras and the nodes being deployed on a drone frame. And these systems are actually being utilized by the US Air Force and US armies, and even in India they are being utilized. So you can uh, study the high rotations of drones. You have a volume in meters, you can see the whole three-dimensional volume, and you can actually subject your drones to different flying trajectories and conditions, air conditions also, and one can carry out the experimental analysis. Okay, I think I'll stop here. If there are any questions, we can take. If there is time, I can also go through the agriculture applications, but I think uh, uh, ma'am, you can suggest.
I think it's a 4 o'clock, sir. We can take questions. Any questions? I'm unmuting everyone. You can unmute and ask the questions. Is there any questions? Or you can write in chat box. Sir, the one question. that aerodynamics concept is for engineering. That same thing applicable to this concepts. One branch is there, no, for engineering. So that branch, sir, you are muted.
You're talking about aeronautical engineering?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, of course. The basic is always from the aeronautical engineering or studying the flight dynamics, and then how you are able to apply them to drones. So the fundamentals of flight are always there. It's just that with respect to drones, how we are actually applying these fundamental principles. So
Okay.
there are lots of opportunities to study, to carry out the simulation of drones, the aerodynamic simulation or the structural simulation. There are lots of opportunities. There are so many startups. In fact, I'm also associated with a startup. I have my own aerospace startup where we are carrying out lots of drone based applications, products we are trying to develop. If there is a time, maybe quickly I can show that also. And there are so many companies coming up in drone technology where there are lots of opportunities for young undergraduate and postgraduate students, even school students, instead of they are thinking of applying for various entrance exams. And I think there is now, this is the right time in this country that you should more think about what you can actually learn on your own and how you can come up with your own startups and your ideas, how to actually make materialize them. I think that is needed instead of just focusing on entrances and the, I feel, the rat race. I think students should take a long breath and think what they really want to do. I think there are multiple opportunities to grow.
Sir, only the students with the aero background, they can join these projects and all, or any other opportunities for the other students to join?
That is a very good question. As I said, as I shown my earlier slides also, that it is not by just having engineering degree or a science degree you can contribute to drone technology. You can be from economics background. Okay, it is not stopping you. You can come up with a drone based policy. You can think of business models of drones. For example, if you are a botany student, let's say, the botany student, there are opportunities where botany students can think of project with drones. Maybe you have a friend who knows how to operate drones, okay, and you can have your undergraduate project or a postgraduate project which you can align with drone technology. You can carry out the vegetation study using drone at a small scale, but then that small scale project can become a role model to actually when to scale it up. So those kind of projects I think students should think about. There are lots of kits. Even we are making few educational kits where one can think of making these drones part by part, and you can play with them at home. You can make it study the research. From the research aspect also you can study these drones. So all those things I think are available today with with the internet. There are lots of access we have to knowledge. So I think there are lots of opportunities for students.
Thank you, sir. Sir, brief me about your startup program, just
Yes, yes,
little
definitely.
bit.
Yeah, so I will just again share my present screen, and I'll just go to the slide. Yeah, so we are developing these stabilized platforms. That is during my actually PhD. I started working with a foreign university, and through a collaboration we started developing these platforms. And right now we plan to actually materialize these platforms at with under Make in India initiative, where drones can actually land in very harsh conditions in sea based platforms. Then I'll go next. So this is kind of typically in harsh weather conditions. If the platforms are moving, this is how the conditions can be stabilized, and you can have very smooth landing of drones. Okay, one can actually utilize them for a mining industry where there are very rough terrains, uh, and as the vehicle is moving, the drone can have very smooth landing, because for mining purpose there are very delicate and costly sensors being used. So these kind of applications we are developing. uh, through our other startup, we are actually developing a drone based solutions. Actually, before I joined this talk, I was actually in a meeting to present this, uh, where we are actually developing a solution to detect underground buried objects, typically anti-personnel mines for defense applications, where generally the current scenario is the defense personnel actually go in the hazardous area to manually detect the mines. And if by mistake, if you actually stamp on uh, the location where there is a mine, then there are lots of hazards. It results in death also. So what we are trying to address is coming up with a drone based solution, where drone can go in this hazardous area and it can actually detect the underground buried objects. And we have carried out some experimental studies. We have come up with real-time drone tracking also, which we are trying to integrate with some other products with respect to drones. And yes, so as a faculty and as a startup, we have actually proposed, because I work in drone-based, satellite-based sensors. We have actually proposed a student satellite under G20. We have proposed the G20 student satellite program, where actually these students of G20 member countries can come and get trained in the satellite systems and satellite sensors. And of course, prior to the drone based platform, we actually presented a concept to the aircraft based system, where one can carry critical patients, and these patients cannot actually then experience the air turbulence, because these are if there are small aircrafts carrying patients, these small aircrafts are always susceptible to turbulence. So these concepts also we are working on, and we are open to collaborate with researchers, and if there are venture capitalists who are interested. So we have already presented such systems even to Mac Aero 33, which is a platform set up by Honorable Ratan Tata sir. Uh, and this is my contact if anyone wants to contact me. So I think I'll stop here. If there are any questions.
So one thing, what are the difficulties regarding this? Means what are the difficulties which you are facing to modification or research oriented?
See, there
Upcoming
are
to
yeah,
resolve.
there are always challenges, and one has to find the way how to overcome the challenges. There are challenges sometimes at technical level. There are challenges sometimes. Suppose you have infrastructure, sometimes you need to have access to certain technology. Then you have to find out the right collaborators and so on. So there are always challenges, but I think one shouldn't get demoralized by challenges. Challenges are always an opportunity. That is how I will tell students, any researchers present over here, that do not just get bound by the limitations of your research area. See how you can come out of it and what new you can do. If there are any PhD students or master students among audience.
It's your first slide. It's it was there. We have to think to
Yes,
overcome
yes,
it. Okay. I think we can wind up here. Thank you, sir. It's
yeah.
a very interesting and new technology concept and very informative session, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you
one
very
and all
much.
for
And
joining.
we are collaborating with few faculties and researchers in Goa University. So anyone who would like to interact with us, we are there, and we'll be soon visiting also Goa University. So maybe some of the audience they would like to personally interact. You're most welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Want to initiate few projects. Actually, we are in process, so it would be great if students can come and interact. Even we are open for school students also to come and interact with us. We would be happy.
Okay. Any campaigning or anything other than Goa city you are doing any work or any outside Goa?
uh, Outside Goa, yes, we are based in Mumbai right now, so we are doing lots of work in Mumbai and around Mumbai, and we would love if there is an opportunity even for conducting such drone workshop in Goa University or any organizations associated with Goa University. We have already trained more than 500 school students through various programs.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.